Paranormal Evidence.
Tonight, see what truly exists inside the world of the paranormal. Inside. Join the discussion and review some of the best paranormal evidence captures from a wide variety of experienced and up-and-coming investigators. See and hear what they capture, where they captured it, and how they captured it. Right now on Entity Voices
Paranormal Evidence.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. I am Chris Allgood.
I am Audra Keeler.
I am Tony Rathman.
I am Lourdes Gonzalez.
And I am going to try to say Ron Iacovetti slower than she did. That's true. You did not. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hello.
And welcome to All Good and Friends.
Where's Miss Cherie tonight?
Yes.
She got stuck doing overtime again.
Oh,
And I barely made it.
yeah, we saw that. So.
You beat Ron and Lourdes.
True. That's so
That much.
Yeah.
I wasn't here much before, trust me.
And I look like the lonely kid in the corner in school that always got in trouble just sitting here by myself staring at the screen.
Yeah. He's like, I've got 9 minutes. I'm like, cool, I have time to make coffee. And like, we'll get there.
All right, guys. Tonight we have Sophia Temperilli. Sophia is a 23-year-old paranormal investigator and radio host. She started investigating the paranormal at the age of 8. She started on the Queen Mary,
Good place to start.
where she fell in love with the field, and who wouldn't on the Queen Mary?
Yeah.
That's where I fell in love. I fell in love with the Queen Mary at 15.
Yeah.
Looks like some of her interests are supernatural starting at I can't speak tonight. It all started when she lived in a haunted house, and by the age of 12, she started her own broadcast called The Ghost Host on liveparanormal.com. Wow, that is fascinating.
So
Let's bring her in. Everybody say hi to Sophia.
Hi, Miss Sophia.
There she is.
Yeah.
There she is.
What's happening,
Sorry.
lady?
Nothing much. I was just backstage laughing. I saw my friend in the comments section, and he commented exactly what he said he would, but I didn't actually expect him to show up. He was like, I was playing Destiny too, so I was just like, wow. I was like, wow, okay, followed through on that one, huh?
So, Sophia, we usually start the show by asking our guests how they got involved in the paranormal. You pretty much told me that in your bio, but why don't you give us a little bit more detail? Yes.
Yeah, so I think I had a passion for the paranormal since I think I had experiences from before I can remember. So I think that kind of subconsciously led me to, having an interest in just loving Halloween, Scooby-Doo. I loved, Sleepy Hollow was like a favorite of mine when I was like a toddler because that's super normal. And I just loved all things paranormal and supernatural. But I never really put any more thought into it than that, not like ghosts or anything. And when I was 8 years old, my parents, they have always also loved the supernatural. And when they were dating, they would watch Sightings and the X-Files. So for their 10-year wedding anniversary, they thought, let's do something different. Because again, what's the most romantic thing you can ever do but go on a ghost hunt for your 10-year wedding anniversary?
Walk through the graveyard,
Yeah, we lived pretty close to the Queen Mary, so my mom was looking at tours, and she called my dad and goes, John, Peter James runs the tours there, and he was the psychic from Sightings who they fell in love with back in the day. So they just said, let's go on a tour, and for some reason, I just got really jealous. I'm like, why can't I go? Why am I not going on the paranormal investigation? So I told them, and they had already gone on the tour at this point. So my father emailed Peter and said, is this safe for Sophia to do? And he said, yes, there's over 500 spirits on the ship. They're all my friends. I'll even let her call out to Jackie. I am the little girl ghost in the Polaria. So my parents took me on their second tour and what would be Peter's final tour. And I just fell in love with the field, and here I am.
That's it. What a great place to start, the Queen Mary. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, you was going to fall in love.
not
Yeah.
only just the Queen Mary, but to interact with Peter James as well. I mean,
Right.
that's an
insane.
opportunity that I can't
huge.
even count the number of investigators that wish they had that
Yeah.
opportunity.
And your family, don't you have his what, it was a leather coat or whatever that he would wear on the investigations?
Yes, my father owns 2 of his leather coats. One of them, I think, was used during his investigation of the Pasadena suicide bridge, and the other one was just kind of one he wore day to day on some smaller investigations or, just disclosed locations. So he has 2 of them, and after the tour, my father was asked to co-author Peter's biography, Heaven Can You Hear Me? And that kind of really kickstarted us in the paranormal as well. I mean, we went from, just having an interest going on this tour to my father co-authoring his book. During the time my father was, getting his manuscripts, helping edit them, Peter actually passed away. So we went on, my parents' anniversary is in April. May is when I went on what would be Peter's final tour. And by July, Peter had died in a VA hospital. So it was a pretty short timeline, but my dad loved Peter from sightings, and he entrusted him with, his life story. So my dad made sure to get the book out there. We went to tons of events and stuff, and that really, you can't go back when you're going to all these paranormal events and meeting so many great people. And shortly after being in the field, we realized our house was haunted. So it was this kind of a roller coaster. You go from just like having an interest one tour to just like the full deep end of this whole underworld of paranormal investigators.
I'm going to take a moment and brag here for a second. I am the one person here who got the opportunity to investigate with Sophia Temperilli. I met her when I was earlier on in my paranormal investigative endeavors. It was at the Glen Tavern Inn in Santa Paula, California. And she was with her parents, John and Shirley, right?
Yeah.
And they are an amazing family. You guys were such a tight-knit group. You were so welcoming and easy to work with for everybody. And your parents are awesome too. Like I see they post pictures from like when they were like, they're like model pictures of them, like couple pictures. If you could take their photos and put it on the cover of any romance novel and up the value of the book like that.
Don't hype my dad up like that. I don't need to deal with that aftermath. Now my mom do it all the time. She's wonderful. She cooks for people. She deserves the hype.
Yeah, they're good people. They're good people.
I will say I actually did investigate with Tony and Cherie though on the Queen Mary for the Dark Zone event.
Oh,
that's
okay.
right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was
2021.
Yeah,
No,
I think so.
2020. It was 2020.
Yeah.
I get a little lost through the.
Yeah, that was great though. That was when we actually we knew who Sophia was, and I think we had interacted online and stuff prior. But yeah, it was great to get to meet her face to face. And I know we had a couple of places on the ship that we were all together investigating. She was off on some other because we broke up into groups and stuff. But that was a fantastic opportunity, and there was nothing better than being able to be on the Queen Mary when it was completely void of everyone, not only passengers, but crew. I mean, we had 5 or 6 people that were actually affiliated with the Queen Mary that, kind of took us from place to place, but there were no guests. Every door was open.
Wow.
It was awesome. It was
I
awesome.
know, that's so nice.
Yeah, that is still my favorite place, location-wise, to go. Regardless of evidence capture, it's a majestic floating piece of elegant history.
Yes,
It is.
It really is.
It really is.
When I was
very active.
34 years ago, good God, when I was 15, I was there with my best friend and his mother, and we did a tour, and we went through the pool area, and we heard Jackie giggle. And I looked at my buddy and I'm like, did you hear that little girl giggle? He goes, yeah, big deal. A little girl giggled. I went, there's no little girls on the tour.
Yeah. You were 15 at the time.
Yeah, I was 15.
You weren't even a grown, you were Chris Smallgood at the time.
Chris Smallgood, yep, that's right.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's an incredible location. I mean, you really never know what you're going to capture there. And I mean, it was so fun with the Dark Zone. I mean, Tony and Cherie have such amazing equipment too. I've been in the field a while, but my equipment collection is pretty small. You know, it's expensive. It's very expensive, and I'm a gamer, so it's like video games. I'm like, what?
You got to balance priorities.
Yeah.
Sophia, since you brought that up, our audience always asks what the investigator on the show's favorite piece of equipment is. Tell us what yours is.
Wow. I mean, it's so difficult. I love the X-Connect because, you know, gaming, paranormal investigating. I really like, and I know this is kind of up for debate in the field of paranormal, but Ghost Radar, it's worked really well for me. And I just like that you can pull it out super easily on any investigation. Just check your phone really quickly. And yeah, I've just had great responses with it. I also use dowsing rods and stuff, but as just like a normal person, because I think when you're investigating, you can capture evidence at just most unexpected times. I think any piece of equipment that you pull out super quick and easy is the best kind, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for people that, you know, the people have their biases against certain things. Apps are one of them. They don't trust it because there's programming involved that they think may be rigged and yada yada. But I mean, any piece of electronic equipment, if you think they can incorporate their energy and manipulate or use electronics like radios or anything else, it stands to reason. And people have gotten stuff on phones before that were even without the use of an app. So
Right.
I think those things can work, but just like anything else, there's a level of responsibility and discernment on the user to determine if it's actual spirit contact that you're getting with timing, relevance, and whatever else, you know, in the moment. But I have seen people use that app and found success with it as well.
Well, and Ron makes a very good point. It doesn't matter what you use. If you're getting an intelligent response, that's a direct response to the question you asked at the time. It doesn't matter what equipment you're using. And you can debate it all day long, but when there's that much relevance to the evidence that you caught, it's undebatable.
But it really comes down to what you are comfortable and feel confident using. And I can't remember, Ron, remind me, was it you that this happened to, or was it Steve Halte? But they were always coming through on one box, and that question was asked, why do you always come through this box? And the answer was, because that's your favorite.
Oh, that's actually so. Steve Halte's an amazing thing with boxes. Let me say that every box he's ever built says his name, like it monograms itself. Brilliant. But that was actually, and that's funny because she texted me today from Spain. That's Dr. Annabella Cardoso, who's ITC royalty, in my opinion, having worked with Marcello Bacci. She has 3 shortwave radio frequencies running in her studio when she does direct radio voice. And she asked the spirits one time why they come through the one more specifically. And that was their answer, because that one's your favorite.
Wow. Thank you for clarifying. I couldn't remember who that was, but thank you.
Yeah, it's a great story. And it really is, you know, it's telling as far as intent and all that stuff goes.
And we found truth. That's
yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. That's always the timing of that is perfect.
So, Sophia, you said it was the Ghost Rider. You actually sent in a picture of a response you got on.
Yeah.
It says Omen Pig. Let's bring that up and show everybody. And why don't you tell us what was going on at the time when you caught this one?
So actually I wasn't investigating when I caught this. I was at a party at the Omen house, and I was just there with my friend Brienne, and we were just hanging out. You know, it was her first time at the Omen house, and we were just, you know, sitting on the 3rd floor, and I was like, let's just put the Ghost Radar on. So we were just sitting there, we weren't asking questions, anything, and it said pig, which was, you know, really surprising considering the proximity to the Manson murders and the fact that that was actually written in blood by the Manson family members at the day of the tragic murders. And I've never gotten that word on the Ghost Radar before or since. So it was very unusual. And just the fact that, you know, we weren't doing anything but having it sit there, I think was, you know, really interesting, because there was nothing for me, you know, that kind of led to a response like that. For it to just be out of the blue was, I think, really shocking to me.
There's your context right there, especially historically speaking for the location. There's your context. I'm going to ask a question because for me, I have places that I love, like the Queen Mary, but the most consistently active, like on an insane level, location I've ever been to is that house. Have you found it consistent? Have you been there multiple times and found that the activity was pretty much ramped up all the time?
Yeah, I've been there multiple times. I think I haven't had the type of experiences that other people have there. For me, I think the most active place I've been to just consistently is the Queen Mary.
Okay.
I think there's, every time I go there, I think I've had something happen. The Omen House, I think, is just a really interesting location in and of itself. I mean, you have just the way it's shaped, the way it goes down. All the experiences I've had there, I mean, I've had some stuff come up on Ghost Radar and, a few EVPs while investigating. But honestly, most of the experiences I've had there were when I was doing absolutely nothing. Again, I was sitting on the third floor, the bottom floor, and I was just sitting on the couch and the door just opened by itself. And I was like, I'm just trying to watch TV. Like, I'm fine. Like, if I'm investigating and that happens, like, I'm good. But if I'm just trying to watch TV and a door opens, I'm like, no, this is too horror movie. Like, for me, I'm not feeling it. So yeah, I mean, I've had some interesting experiences there. I've never had a door open by itself. So I think that's pretty telling, just activity wise. So it's just one of those interesting locations. And the room off of the third floor, bottom level, I feel extremely uncomfortable in. I'm not psychic, but I would say I'm a sensitive. And that room just makes me feel very uncomfortable. I can tell that I'm not wanted in there. So
is that the bedroom on the bottom floor or the exposed dirt room? The bedroom?
That bedroom.
Yeah.
Yep. There's something up with that bedroom. Yep.
That bedroom is really weird.
We did a spirit box session there the one time. David had people following me around. He goes, I'll follow around with the spirit box. He likes the spirit box. I'm walking around. So we're down there for 25 minutes going, nothing. I'm like, well, this is really good. You just sent everybody to follow me and I'm striking out. And then I finally said, I went, do I look like an idiot? Do I look like some fool talking to static with the world's shittiest radio? And then a voice came through and went, you think?
That bedroom has a bathroom, right? That bedroom has a bathroom?
Yeah, it does. I will not use that bathroom.
Yup, that bathroom is creepy. I'm telling you. Sam Beltrusis was just saying about creepy bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, that's one of the bathrooms that I find extremely creepy is that bathroom.
Well, for all of our, middle of the country people that are watching and our East Coasters, if you haven't had a chance to investigate in California is insane with activity. And I like to attribute it directly to all the faults have a huge impact on all the fault lines. Yeah, have a huge impact on what you get in California. I have some of the experiences and some of the stuff that I've seen and heard and felt in California has just been, I mean, I've seen and felt and heard the same stuff on investigations throughout the country that we've done. But in California, it always seems so much more intense for some reason. And the apparitions you see seem so much clearer. The EVPs you pick up seem so much louder. It's an intense location. If you haven't been out there to investigate, I suggest do it.
Yeah, David's house is a geomagnetic anomaly too. He's got like 3,000 plus milligauss at the front door thing and 3,000 negative at the spiral staircase. So it's completely on the USGS anomalies list for sure.
So even if you're sensitive, even if there's not necessarily paranormal activity happening at the moment, you're going to feel it.
Disoriented.
You're going to feel it when you walk in that house. But
especially not one bedroom. I really don't. It's not like a favorite place.
Yeah.
You just feel like you're not wanted in there. And I'm like, if you don't want me there, I don't need to be there. I get, you can capture activity when a ghost is upset, but I mean, they're a dead person. If they don't want me there, then I'm not going to fight you. Like, you can't do anything about it. Like, I can leave. I don't know if you can.
Good point.
Okay, so we have one. Let's look at your pictures first. So we have one from Alcatraz Infirmary. I'm going to pop it up, and why don't you explain this one to us?
Yeah, so I actually was not on this investigation. It's a capture my parents got when they spent the night on Alcatraz back in 2009. But I think it's just such an amazing photo. So my parents were walking down, I believe that's the infirmary ward, and they weren't allowed to go all the way back at that point in time. On the right side of the photo is actually a park ranger that was cropped out, and he was pointing down the hallway explaining just about the history. So backstory, Debbie Constantino had won a lottery to spend the night on Alcatraz with a certain amount of people. So she invited my parents. I wanted to go. They told me no. Still a little bitter about that. Well, I know if Mob of the Dead and Alcatraz look the same. I can't confirm. And yeah, so my parents went. They stayed the night there, overnight on Alcatraz, and they said there was rain. It was storming. It was an incredible kind of Scooby-Doo night, like Scooby-Doo like night. And so yeah, they took this photo down the hallway, and in the original photo, you actually can't see anything. And my dad decided to brighten the photo, and when he brightened it, there's that figure just standing down the hallway, and no one was down there. The park ranger hadn't allowed anyone to go back there at that point in time. So that's just a completely pitch black hallway, nothing there, no mannequins, nothing. And you brighten it, and there's a figure.
Wow.
That's an amazing photo because of a couple of reasons. One, you can identify exactly what they're wearing. Mm-hmm. That is either jeans or khakis.
Yeah.
That is some type of jacket. I can't tell if it's leather or if it's orange. But anybody know what the uniforms were at Alcatraz? I mean, I'm just curious because
they would have changed over the years. But in the early 80s, you would have seen. So those are actually like a BDU khaki. So you can see the pockets. On the side.
I can see the pockets.
Yeah, the cargo khakis.
Yeah.
And they also had brown leather jackets that almost look like bomber jackets that they wore for a short time.
But it looks like there's a belt there and like some kind of a
utility.
I don't know. Yep.
Yeah, it looks like some kind of utility pouch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a crazy photo. I mean, it's just one of those things, you know, even though I wasn't there, I feel like it's such a great piece of evidence that it just had to be shown because I mean, like I said, my parents weren't investigating at that point in time. They were there to investigate, but they were just on a tour at that point in time, just taking pictures. And, you know, as I was saying earlier, you can capture some of the most amazing evidence when you're not even trying. And so that's why I think it's so important to have, you know, equipment that you can just pull out super easily and not have to set up. Also carrying stuff, not really for me.
Right. What's even more amazing about that photo is you can see that they use some kind of a flash because it's picking up the dust particles in the air in the closer portion of the picture. But if you also look, there's no shadow being cast.
Right.
None.
So if there was a flash being used, there should be a shadow on those pillars off to the left or off to the right, depending on the angle of the camera.
Yeah,
that's
so
crazy.
They did use a flash. You can see that in more of the wide shot of the photo, but it had to be brightened just to even see that. And I honestly wouldn't even thought to have brightened it just because, you know, it just looked like there was nothing there. So, I mean, especially when you brighten it and then there's just a figure, it's like people could easily just look at that photo and be like, oh, there's nothing there, move on to the next one. But just that little detail of just brightening the photo fully and then you see something, it's like, that's really one in a million.
That is really cool. It's our first photo fashion fest. Today's picture is out in khakis, no shoes or feet, with a bomber jacket, utility belt, and he'll be here modeling the rest of the evening.
You guys really want to get messed up on this one? Here's the wide shot.
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You can see through him.
You can't zoom in on that, can you, Chris? No.
No, not with StreamYard, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But you can still see in this wide shot, there's no shadow being cast by that flash.
You know what I love about the fact that you showed them in this order is that if you saw this one first, some people could initially jump to go, well, maybe it's a person, but what we just saw on the close-up, no.
Right.
Yeah, so let's go back to that.
That's crazy.
That's the close-up.
So those were the tour guides too. So as you can see, no one was stepping beyond them because, I mean, it's their prison. Why would you?
So let me point something out to everybody that's watching, even in this shot, compared to this shot. He has no head.
No.
I know.
Yeah, I was trying to find it too, and I couldn't.
And if you look really close, his arms down, you can maybe somewhat, I don't know if that's a hand or not, but why does he have no head?
Color-coded uniform. See that, Genghis Khan? That's a great comment, and that's probably relevant to the color scheme we're looking at here.
Yeah.
There's no discernible head in either photo.
Nope.
That's the thing with different lighting, with a different zoom. onto the photo further, closer, whatever. There's no head.
Well, here's
I'm
what's
sorry, I can't get past it. There's no head.
Here's what's even more intriguing is if you look at this. This one is a little bit more because he changed the color. He brightened it up, which tends to strengthen the colors a little bit. But if you look at this one, where he didn't brighten it up, you can see through him. You can see the line in the wall behind him.
Yeah, not to mention there's no head.
There's no head. There's no head.
I don't see a
details.
That's an awesome shot. Just awesome.
That's really cool.
And everybody that was paying attention to Sophia's story, do you see where the tour guide is standing?
Mm-hmm.
The little Smokey the Bear guy with the finger.
Yeah, that.
No one was allowed past that point.
Right.
Except
So there shouldn't be anybody there, and no one noticed it standing there. So I mean, it's not like they're all staring at it. I mean, they didn't even know it's there. So that strengthens the support that this isn't normal. This is paranormal.
Yeah,
And the fact that he's
crazy.
facing the other way too, like he's not even acknowledging them either. They're not, you know what I mean?
Race hop.
Right.
Chicken skin alert.
Hey, Race, you're fresh out of the hospital. Should be watching this shit. Don't get that heart rate up right now.
That's a really good. That's a really good capture.
That's
That's an awesome capture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's crazy good. Again, I wasn't there for that because apparently I was too young to go to Alcatraz, but the Boy Scouts spend the night there, so I feel like there's an argument to be made, and I feel like
Well, anybody that's ever been to Alcatraz, the Boy Scouts are only allowed in the 1800 section where it's really haunted. They're not allowed into the prison portion of it.
And you know, I've been to San Francisco a couple times, and my aunt thinks I've gone to Alcatraz every single time I've been there, and I'm like, I've never gone. She's like, oh, we'll have to go, and she's like, oh, they're full, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'll just never know.
You'll get there.
Yeah, I never got.
I'll get there. Hopefully, you know, they won't reopen it for me for any reason. It's just an overnight.
Do they allow overnights? They didn't when we were there.
Yeah, it's a lottery, so it's like yearly or something through the. I think it's the parks, like the state parks thing. They do just like a lottery every year, and I don't know how long they've been doing that or if they still do it. But back in 2009, there was a lottery, and you paid a certain amount of money, and then you brought a certain amount of people, and then they each like paid their way to pay off like whatever it was.
Oh wow.
So we had a really interesting experience. We had a really interesting experience at Alcatraz. We had those, not to be offensive, the self-guided stupid little cassette player earphone things. And we had gone out into the yard. It was really cool because they had Navy Week and the Blue Angels were flying around Alcatraz. Oh, it was so awesome. Was cool. But we were going back in from the yard, and we went up the stairs, went through into the cell area, and we were listening to the guided tour. And this scruffy voice came through the earphones and went, "He left the yard. Go back." And I looked at Audrey and I went, "Did you hear that?" And she goes, "What?" And I said, "Did you hear a scruffy voice say he left the yard, go back?" And she goes, "No." And I'm sitting there
like,
going,
"Are you on a different tour?"
Are you on? Yeah, it was pretty cool.
But I got a kind of the same thing. I had a like a psst kind of thing in mind, and I'm like, "Are they like, psst, you know you?" And he's like, "Nope."
Yeah, different responses for different people.
Yeah.
I know that on the tour, I believe my mom was communicating with a spirit. You know, my mom's obviously a woman. And so she was communicating with the spirit. I don't know exactly what she was saying to him, but the door, every time she would speak, would like slam, like shut. It had a chain on it, so it wouldn't like open and close like as much as it could, and it'd be like, yeah.
Wow.
So there was that too. So it was a really crazy night. Tons of activity the night they went. Yeah.
Anthony
so it's a great
Seminelli
location.
was there. But when Anthony Seminelli was Alcatraz, he was actually an inmate.
He didn't investigate for one night. It was like 9 months.
I'm gonna pay for that joke at some point, I'm sure. Forget about it. My lights are gonna go out.
Right.
That picture was fantastic. That really was.
Yeah, that was great.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a super cool photo. I took sociology in high school, so I took psychology and sociology, and we did like a group thing, just like groups in general. Like people could do it on. I don't remember, all my examples that are coming up are really bad. So, but I did the paranormal, and I think someone in my class did gangs or something. So like I'm saying like just bad examples coming up, like. But so I did the paranormal, and I included like those photos and the EVPs that my dad sent over, and one of them actually made a girl in my class scream, and I was kind of proud. I'm not gonna lie. I hate presenting in front of people like in the class. It's just the worst. And I was a law and forensics student, so I was in criminal justice, and I didn't want to take anatomy because I knew they would be dissecting a cat, and I'm like, no way. So I went into psychology and sociology, which is all medical students. I didn't know anyone in the class, so presenting in front of the class is just awful. So I felt like 10 times better when I got to the end and someone screamed. I was like,
she's so funny.
I love it.
Nice work.
So there's something I want to show, and it's a little bit of a younger Sophia. A little clip where she was on the Queen Mary, and I want you guys to watch this. It's about 2 minutes.
Awesome.
We invite aboard friends of the late Peter James, the psychic who first spoke with the spirit he called Jackie more than 20 years ago.
I want to do a seance right now. Okay, Aaron?
Yeah.
Nick?
Yeah, let's go.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this.
We decide to conduct our seance in the first-class swimming pool, where the most compelling evidence of Jackie was captured by Peter James.
I'm not going to hurt you. I promise you that. Yes, Mommy loves you too.
Jackie, if you're here, you know that we're here for you. Peter, we have a couple of your friends here. Do you two want to say anything?
Peter, if you're here, can you speak with us?
That door just opened. Did anyone come in?
Just as Peter's friend Sophia asks him to speak with us, amazingly, a door on our same level, just about 20 feet in front of us, opens and closes by itself.
If you're here, can you speak with us?
And as I go to the door to find that there is no one there.
Hello? All right, guys, well, why don't we wrap this up?
That's cool.
That's awesome.
So, Sophia, how old were you there?
So I was 15. That was actually filmed on my very last day of freshman year, back in 2014. So it was just a crazy experience. Debbie was my mom's best friend, and she knew that they would be investigating the Queen Mary and my dad's ties to Peter James. So she said, you have to have the Temperillis there. So we were called in the same day that they were filming. So I went straight from my very last day of freshman year to filming Ghost Adventures. So it was a crazy day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I want to point something out. 15-year-old Sophia, first one to ask a question. Besides Zach, it was his show, right? And when that door opened up, that girl didn't flinch.
That's true.
Somebody bringing coffee. She was all calm. She didn't even flinch.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, first off, that's the second door. I forgot about that happening. So like I said, if I'm on an investigation and a door opens, I'm fine with it. If I'm sitting on a couch at the Omen house and a door opens, I'm like, I'm not going to die this way. It was a fun night. I mean, we caught some incredible EVPs that weren't in that clip, but it was I mean, so first off, I mean, a little bit of backstory. So the Queen Mary is the first place I ever investigated, but I've investigated there multiple times throughout the years. I would say probably hundreds. I mean, it was so close. It's the place I've investigated the most. And in the pool area, I always see a ghost near the dressing rooms. I call him the Shadow Man. It's a dark shadow figure, and he doesn't like me. I don't like him. It's a mutual thing. And he would just always kind of lurk and linger, and I could tell he wasn't a good spirit, but he never really did anything. He would just lurk around, which is, that's creepy, so that's super fun. But the night of ghost adventures, so typically if you go into the Queen Mary pool area, there's low lighting because there's no supports underneath the pool area. They don't need anyone falling in. People have, but it's just not really like the safest place to be, loose tiles. So there's always lighting on constantly. The night of ghost adventures, as you can see in the video, the lights were completely out. Now, that's the first time I've ever been in there where it was pitch black. And the Shadow Man, in my opinion, got so incredibly powerful. It's like nothing I had ever experienced before. I physically wanted to say that, the Shadow Man's here, and I felt like every time I was going to say it that I would cry or something. It was like there was some emotional hold over me. And I see him in multiple places at once, which doesn't entirely make sense. I know it doesn't really make sense to me either. But on the upper right-hand balcony, I saw him just kind of like leaning over, staring at us. And Zach went up there to investigate, and he actually got rushed by a ghost. And my mom's not in the video, but she was actually up there in the pool staircase and actually heard footsteps running at him. We got such clear EVPs with language that's probably not safe for TV. And it was just like nothing I had ever experienced. And I went in the pool area one other time afterwards, and I felt unsafe in there. I felt like something bad was going to happen if we stayed. And he just was so much more powerful after that night. And I can honestly say that I really haven't been back there since that investigation because I feel very unsafe around him.
What year was that again, you said?
2015. And I went I don't know, maybe a year later with Amy Goodwin. And I was just like, if we stay here, something bad's going to happen. I just feel like something bad is really going to happen to us if we stay here. I
want to show you something, Professor. If this translates, putting it in front of the camera. I got 2 really good photo captures in over 10 years of doing this stuff. Both of them were at the Queen Mary. Mm-hmm. But this one was the door to boiler room number 3, which you probably know is just below the pool area. That was one of the heat sources for the pool. So when you're describing the Shadow Man that you're talking about, that was the thing I caught.
Yeah, he's very lurky, very creepy, very, very shadowy, very dark.
Did it look like everything.
That? Yeah, I mean, he's very dark. I know most of the time when I see him, he's really just standing in the doorway, so I can kind of see more of like a silhouette. But yeah, that's probably him. I feel like he does go in the boiler room sometimes. He seems to really like darkness.
There was nothing in that doorway when I took it. Nobody was there, and everybody on the tour was facing that way except the tour guide that night that I took it. And I saw this later on, hours later, and I couldn't believe because you had that sobering moment sometimes with evidence. Tony had it with video of shadow figures walking at the Phelps Dodge. You do this stuff, you educate yourself, you get experience, you collect evidence, yada, 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 yada. But when something like that happens, your mental preparation goes out the window. You're like I know it was
right.
That wasn't there.
And it's interesting what you say because I had a similar experience in the Queen Mary in the infirmary room.
By the back, yeah.
By the back, right. That I felt like I wanted to ask these questions of these emotions that I was having, and I couldn't get them out. But when I finally was about to get them out, this one picked up all the questions that I wanted to ask. It was so weird. It was like if he was connected with me, and everything that I wanted to ask and I was about to ask it, he would ask, which helped me because I was overwhelmed with the emotions that I was having. So it's interesting that you said that too, but it happened in the infirmary room for me.
Anthony's right. Those are wow moments. Yeah,
that was a big thing for me. Yeah.
It just was fascinating because when she was describing the figure and how it felt, and then it was the same, literally the same part of the ship, other than one deck down.
Well, did it look like it had a robe on, or did it look like it had pants, or you couldn't tell?
Just like a full silhouette. Like if you draw someone with like a chalk outline is kind of how I see him. Like I said, I'm not psychic. I'm more, I would say, of a sensitive. Anytime I see a ghost, it's a shadow figure, so that's super fun, super cool. Because who doesn't want to see just like dark masses when you go places? Yeah, so that's literally just how I see him. It's just like a silhouetted mass. Like anyone who wears glasses, if you take it off and you see the like predominant color as just like one blob, that's basically him.
Oh, interesting.
We were doing the investigation we did on the Queen Mary. We were in the dressing area, and the tour guide was saying there's something in front of us, and somebody kept going, yeah, there's something there, and I tapped out and I went, and somebody went, it's Jackie, and I'm like, no, she's out by the pool. It's something different. It feels like a male spirit, and it doesn't feel good. Remember that? And then we heard he said, if you don't start responding, we're gonna have to leave. And hear like a little girl that's disappointed, but it came from outside the door out by the pool. I'm like, okay, if she's out there, like I said, what the hell is in here? But it had that dark, ominous feeling about it. It was weird. Yeah.
The Polaria is, I mean, just such an intense location. I think a lot of people may think it's overhyped, but it's really not. I mean, it is with the Shadow Man there, just everything. You have Jackie. There's so much to capture, and I think you just can capture some crazy stuff. I mean, that dressing room, anyone who's been in there, it's an uncomfortable place. I feel like kind of nauseous and dizzy in there, so I don't go in there because why do I want to feel that? Just because it's paranormal doesn't mean I want to feel that.
Right.
In that dressing room is my very first disembodied voice that I heard with my own ears in that dressing room.
Yeah.
In that freaking dressing room.
And I thought Bob Davis and Brian Clune, authors who spent a lot of time there, did they not? I believe they had captured a vocal around the same part of the ship that they were able to voice match like a fingerprint to the vocal that Peter James got of Jackie in the same area.
Yeah, they did. So I actually was there the day they captured it. We were at an event. I think Dave Schrader was hosting a Darkness Radio event.
Okay.
God, 2009 or something. I was really little. And Bob had gone down to the pool area by himself, and he had said, you can call me Uncle Bob. And she said, no. And he said, well, you can call me your uncle. And she said, you're not my uncle.
Wow.
That's
so
crazy.
yeah, that was really interesting. He ran up like immediately afterwards, and he's like, guys, you have to hear this. You have to hear this. And we're like, oh, wow.
That's cool.
I mean, you don't hear that every day.
No.
They software matched it through, I guess it was a form of software that said that the government used to identify, and it was an exact match, almost exact, if not exact, to what Peter James captured of Jackie in the pool area.
Yeah, no, it was. I don't remember exactly what he did, but it was a match, and it was such an incredible piece of audio. I mean, you have so many voices in there. I mean, you have Peter with the London bridges falling down. I had actually interviewed Grant Wilson for an event, I think, quite a while ago. I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago or something. And he was saying that he was doing the tour, and they had actually got a voice saying like the London Bridge song. And I said, well, that's actually what Peter used to sing with Jackie. And he's like, no, I had no idea. So he had no idea of that even taking place, and then captured this little girl singing all those years later.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's crazy, just all the way the kind of puzzle pieces just fall together with that, and just all the investigators that have had their own experiences there, or captured a voice, or seen something.
Yeah, it's a shame because that pool area is so incredible that I don't think you've been able to access it for the last probably, I don't know, 7-8 years, because They didn't want the tiles damaged. That was the first thing. Then the boat has some construction problems right underneath that area. And then, of course, like you said, they took out the boilers underneath, with not only helped heat the pool, but it was some support too, which is all gone now. So even when we were there with the dark zone, we put cameras up on the balconies, and we were only allowed to go in like 3 feet from where the entrance was and no farther. But it's a shame because that pool area.
Yeah, I'd heard that too. I didn't know when they started that, because we went, similar to Sophia, that's the first place I ever investigated, and I probably collectively did more hours there than almost everywhere else.
2016 and 2017, and the pool was still open then.
Right. But I started the same way. I used to go there like a couple times a month. I would go there constantly because it was so close. I was living in Burbank at the time. And then we went back in 16 and 17, 2016, and we were able to go in the pool with Matthew Schultz both times.
We were there. We did our investigation April of 2016, and I think it was somewhere around July of 18 is when I heard they closed it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that right after we were there. Yep. It was our fault, Chris. You and I.
Damn
it. They were like, we're not dealing with them again.
Yeah.
They're like, Tony knows them. We're not even going to take a chance there.
Well played, lady.
I've got 2 more EVPs, which are actually, one of them's a condensed version of one, but there's a picture that goes along with them. You want to give us, I'm going to pop the picture up. You explain to us how this picture ties to the evidence you sent us, Sophia.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I didn't even know that picture was sent, so I was very confused. So that's actually, I didn't know we had a picture like that. So that's actually my mother's vanity in my old house. As you can see there's a chair. You can see a chandelier on it, which no one knew how to hang. That's a closet right there. So that door leads to just close. There's nothing behind it, just close. That's a vanity. I didn't realize we had a picture of it, and I didn't even remember what it looked like. That's how long it's been. So that light is very important piece to really look at to understand what's happening. The closet door and the light are really the 2 specific things that are the most important to see.
Okay. Let's listen to the first one. Here we go.
That's cute. I've been trying to get hurt. I've had it a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So that was basically what happened. I had been telling my parents for a little bit of time. So I grew up in that house. Yeah, so I grew up in that house. The day I came home from the hospital, went straight to that house. And I lived there until I was about 11 years old, and then we moved out. Some backstory of the house. My dad also grew up in the house. So he's adopted. And my grandfather, his adoptive father, was a paranoid schizophrenic. So my dad grew up in that house until the age of 9. Then they moved out, him and my grandmother. And he didn't go back into that house until after my grandfather died. He actually died in that house. He was not the spirit that you hear in the recording, and he was not one of the ghosts that was actively haunting us. There was basically back in the 1980s and 90s when my grandfather would have been a ward of the county, LA County didn't take good care of their ward. So he died without heating, electricity. He died on the floor of what was my father's old childhood bedroom. And people could break in and out, do whatever they wanted. And my grandfather was helpless. And so there's tons of just a good amount of time that was undocumented as to what could have gone on in that home. Yeah. So I had been telling my parents when I was around 9 years old, I just kept feeling like there was eyes everywhere, the ceiling, the walls, everything. I felt like I couldn't go anywhere without being watched. And I just felt so uncomfortable. And one day I walked into my parents' bedroom and I see a man standing in my mom's closet. And I'm like, okay, I think our house is haunted. I'd been in the field for about a year at this time. And I tell my parents, and my mom, she doesn't know what to think. Obviously, they've lived here for a good amount of time. They moved in I think the year they got married, 1997. I was born in 99. And my dad had grown up there. No reason for them to assume it was haunted. So my mom didn't know what to think. She didn't want to tell me I was wrong. My dad, on the other hand, the guy who wrote the book for the psychic, was very, very helpful. He said, it's just your imagination because I wrote a book for a psychic. So he didn't believe me at all. And like I said, my mom didn't know what to think. And up until this point, they weren't really doing anything because what do you do? There was no confirmation of the house being haunted. So my mom's putting on her makeup in that vanity. And there was 3 knocks on the inside of the closet door. Obviously, no one should be in her closet. So she runs, grabs a recorder, and she captures what you hear in the recording. I'll help you put these lights up, which is a direct reference to the lighting that had been sitting there for a year or two, not knowing how to be mounted. You would think that's super friendly. That's a very nice ghost. No, super creepy, very stalker-y. I couldn't go anywhere in that home without being followed. I couldn't get dressed for school. I couldn't watch YouTube in my dad's office. It even got to the point where he had climbed my loft bed ladder and was watching me sleep at night. And yeah, it was a very scary experience at a young age. The ghost was solely focused on women. Another reason why my dad didn't know what to think. My dog could actually see the ghost. We had a pug, and she would bark violently into the hallway where he would stand. And all those things just kind of added up. I had diamond doves in my bedroom. Anytime the ghost was around, they would just bounce off the sides of the cages. And it just got to a point where it was just too much. We have a psychic friend who was supposed to actually go film a video at the Queen Mary, and that fell through. So he said, well, can I investigate your house? And so I don't know how long before, probably a couple days, maybe a day or two. That was when the ghost had climbed my loft bed ladder. You know, I had a couch bed in my room. And since I was a child, I was like, I'm going to sleep on this. That's super fun because that's really comfortable. And my mom had to change the bedding at one point. So I went back and slept on my loft bed. And it was super high up to the ceiling. If you were a normal sized person and not a child, you would hit your head every single time you sat up. And I saw him standing in my doorway, and I thought, finally, I'm safe. He can't see me anymore. He can't find me. And one day I'm going to sleep, and I felt him this far from my head watching me sleep. He had climbed my loft bed ladder, and he found me. And I don't know how I fell asleep that night. And then the psychics came over. So my mom's friend is there, 2 psychics, too. And I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, there's something I really have to tell you. And she said, not right now. We have guests over. So I pulled her friend, who's not in the paranormal, not psychic, not anything, pulled her to the side, and I said, the ghost climbed my loft bed ladder and had watched me sleep. And so she pulls my mom aside and goes, you have to hear what Sophia told me. So at this point, only myself, my mom's friend, and my mom knew. And then one of the psychics walks past my bedroom and goes, there's a man on that loft bed ladder. And that was the final night I had slept in my room until we moved out. My parents moved me into their room. And my mom had felt like she was being watched while she slept, and she thought it was just, you know, her being paranoid because what happened to me. The other psychic was pointing out where he felt spirits, and he walked right next to where my mom sleeps and goes, and here, he stands here. And she's realized that wasn't in her head. And it was just a pattern. My cousin, who you also hear in there, that said, is that a Target skirt? That's cute. She had slept in my room at one point. My mattress was on the floor because my room was getting redone. And I was sleeping next to her. I honestly don't really remember because I didn't have an experience that day. And she was trying to fall asleep and saw full figure, a man standing over us, watching us. And she said she gripped me tighter, and by the time she blinked, he was gone.
Wow. Hey, really quick, I don't mean to interrupt, but UNX Network is going to be switching over their audio to their next show here in about 3 to 5 minutes. Anybody that wants to stay, we've got a couple more EVPs to listen to. One is a condensed version of the one you just heard. And we're going to button up with Sophia. We're going to run over a little bit. So if you want to stick around and finish up with Sophia, stay with us on Facebook, stay with us on YouTube, but UNX is going to be switching over. All right, let's listen to that. So this is the condensed version. And for So it doesn't confuse Sophia too much. Your dad sent me audio clips. I'm the one that put them to video for you. So
Okay, yeah, no, it's fine. I just didn't know about the vanity photo. I didn't even know we had a photo of that. Like I said, I was like between the ages of 9 and 11, so it gets a little.
He actually sent about 20 more. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, when you were, he told me he was sending the Ghost Adventures video, but when you said a video of her when she was younger, I was thinking, oh my god, what is it? I've been doing this too long. I got scared for a second. I was like, oh god, is it an old interview?
The old adult is like, what picture?
I know. I was like, he said an old video, and someone had pulled up in like old interviews of me when I was younger. I was like, oh god, that's horrifying. What do they mean?
Well, what's funny is the picture of you with Zach on Ghost Adventures. He sent that as a picture, and I used it for the EVPs. So
yeah.
All right, let's listen to that condensed version. I'll play it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's really crazy.
That's a
It's
whole
so,
sentence.
and the picture is huge because it shows that there's your relevance. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that was just a crazy thing to have happen. I
Let me hope you
mean,
put the lights up because it'll be easier for me to watch you sleep later.
yeah. So he was so creepy, and you know, there was little things looking back that you kind of look back and you're like, okay, this makes more sense now. Like back when my dad was a child, one of the neighbors had come up to my grandmother and said, your house is haunted. And she's like, yeah, sure. Okay. And because like, why would someone just walk up and tell you that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then, my mom's female friends would house sit. My parents went on vacation or, I was away with them. And they said they felt physically uncomfortable in our home. But of course, no one's going to just be like, hey, your house really creeps me out. Because that's not, typically how you start a conversation, even if you know someone. And so there's things like that. Also, like I said, I think I had experiences from before I could remember. I would stand with my back against this door to enter our garage. And now I still don't remember this. But my mom said I would stand there frozen with my back against this door and I wouldn't move. She could call me, she could stand in front of me. I would just stand there frozen until she actually physically touched me and I would move. But I was too young to speak or tell her what I was seeing. But I was clearly frozen with fear. I mean, fast forward, I used to have just horrible nightmares. And I was a big fan of Charlie's Angels, specifically Drew Barrymore. My dad had gotten me an autographed photo of her. And so my parents hung it up, of course, because, that's what you do. You get an autograph of Drew Barrymore, you hang it up. And I'm like, you guys have to take it down. She's watching me. You guys have to take the photo down. And they're like, why do you hate Drew Barrymore? And I'm like, she's watching me. She was watching me. And I think looking back, that I was associating the eyes in the photo with whatever I was actually physically feeling in the house.
Wow.
Right.
At another point in time, my mom had actually so this was on New Year's night. I was up in my aunt's house. My grandfather, this is my other grandfather, he had died a few years before. My grandmother hadn't really gone out since. That night, she went to the Knights of Columbus. My mom encouraged her to go dance, have fun, not worry about anything. So she was dancing with a man. And so my parents are at home alone, and they're in the kitchen, and there was a little piece of metal used to hang blinds, and it had flown 6 feet off of a little counter and hit my mom square in the back. And my dad actually saw it fly off of there and hit her.
Wow.
And we didn't realize the house was haunted at that time. So my parents are just thinking, oh, it's grandpa telling us, why'd you encourage her to go dance with some guy? But looking back, no, it was the ghost in our house. And, there was other things. My dad's an 80s drummer. Obviously, that's super loud. And he was playing one night, and you heard a loud boom on the side of our house. My uncle heard it. My parents' friend that was there, everyone heard it over this loud music, and that was unexplainable.
Wow.
After we had moved out, one of the neighbors had seen a man hop our fence, and we lived by Ocean Avenue, so, I mean, there's beachgoers and stuff. I mean, like, it could be anyone. So he saw a full man hop the fence. He went into our small patio area to go tell the guy, like, hey, you need to leave. And there was not a single person there.
Wow.
See.
So let's go ahead and look at your last clip. This one's titled, Who Are You? Do you want to give a backstory? Or you want to listen to it first?
Yeah, so the backstory to that is my mom was home alone. I was probably at school. My dad was at work or something. And we had realized the house was haunted at this point. My mom heard the dog. She was washing dishes. She heard the dog barking down the hallway. Like I said, she would stand in the hallway, bark violently. So she thought, okay, he's here. And also another thing is my mom, like if I was putting on socks or something and getting ready for school and she was, helping me get ready, if the ghost was standing there, she could walk through it and feel like her arms buzzing. Her hair would stand up on end. So she kind of knew when the ghosts were there, but she heard the dog barking. So she said, I'm going to go grab the recorder. And that's the EVP she caught.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's take a listen.
Is this a home you loved? Why are you here?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
That was great.
Wait, let's listen to that again. Hang on.
Is this a home you loved? Why are you here?
That's the same voice from the other one.
Yeah.
And that's actually the EVP that made the girl in my psychology class scream.
Well, yeah, that's why.
Yeah, in the video, you can hear my mom's breath kind of shaking. I mean, she was clearly freaked out, and she didn't know that she had captured that at the time. Otherwise, she said she would have responded. My mom, I like to say this to everyone. I've told her herself. She's the people that would die in a horror movie. Like, she's a person, like, if you're not supposed to go somewhere, she's like, yeah, I'll go. Why not? I'm like, I'm just a slight bit more self-preservation. Like, I love investigating, but if, like, I know that, like, if it's in my house, like, I don't want to talk to you. You're not supposed to be there.
Right.
I think that's just from my own experiences. Like I said, very creepy childhood and definitely messed me up a little bit.
That was an awesome capture, though.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. He almost sounded a little bit annoyed. You could almost hear him go right before he goes, "Who are you?"
Thank you. I said that. I said there's something right before he says it, and it's probably that.
Let's play it again. Listen, right before he says it, it's almost like he's annoyed. He takes a little.
Is this a home you loved? Why are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a pretty crazy, childhood living with that. It was scary. I mean, it still affects me to this day. I mean, being watched while you slept. Your home is where you're supposed to feel comfortable, and it wasn't at a certain point. I couldn't do anything, watch TV, play video games. I couldn't talk to my friends without feeling physically uncomfortable. I mean, when you have a grown man watching you every day and you can't do anything about it, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I was gonna say grown man when you're a young child, Audra. That's what she did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter what age you are, it's wrong.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it had gotten to the point where, we had people try and come sage it. Nothing worked. And, when our psychic friend had actually come film, he had, his audio techs come with him, and his audio tech was a skeptic. So the person in the comment section, they're actually, my grandfather is who you're referencing. And yes, I actually do think that possibly the spirits in the home aided in, the deterioration of his mental health. He used to guard the Pope in Vatican City, Rome. And so he was very, angels and demons. He was very heavily devout in the Catholic faith. So I think if any spirit preyed on that it could have just sent him down a path that it was beyond repair. Like I said, my dad's adopted, but, he grew up in that home and he had to leave at a very young age as well. But it had gotten to the point, where the psychic brought his, skeptic audio tech there. And they went outside to take a break, and the audio tech went to go check on the feed, and he had a power strip with all the cables plugged in. Every single cable had been unplugged. Now, the strip was close to my mom's closet in her bedroom, and he was so freaked out after that experience, he stopped talking to the man who brought him, and we just never talked again. And yeah, another
Imagine
situation.
if this stuff was real.
Yeah, so, and that was the first night actually I had seen the spirit outside of my home. He was standing, so we had like a front yard, but it was up like 3 feet, and so he was leaning kind of on the bricks just watching us. I saw him as more of a shadow figure at that point, but it was the first time I had seen him outside of the home. And you know, my dad hadn't really had experiences there, so my mom told him to go sleep on my loft bed ladder. Now, my dad has long hair to go with the whole 80s drummer thing. And so from behind, I guess you could assume he might be a female. And so he was laying on my loft bed, and he felt something watching him. So he threw his arm over my loft bed ladder, and he said he felt like he stuck it into a bucket of ice water. At this point in time, I'm with my mom in their bedroom, and she's holding me. She said at that exact moment, she felt, because my dad started yelling at him, obviously. And she felt something come up through her body, and it kind of stopped at her neck area, but her whole body was buzzing the same way it did when she would walk through him when he was watching me or whatever.
Wow.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah,
It is intense.
Crazy.
Well, Sophia, it has been a pleasure having you on tonight. Is there anything that you want to promote?
What's up and coming?
Yeah, so everyone make sure to check out my radio show. I'm the ghost host on liveparanormal.com every Saturday from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can check out some archive shows on iTunes Podcasts. You can check it out on Blog Talk Radio, iHeartRadio, Spreaker. Also, we have some of our videos YouTubed on youtube.com, ghost host Sophia Temperilli, so you can see some of the past interviews there. I've interviewed some of these amazing people, as you see today. And yeah, so just check out the Ghost Host Show. I'm there every Saturday, and I hope you guys like the show if you check it out.
Tell them how long you've been there.
Yeah, so I started my show at 12, so I'm going to be celebrating 11 years on air in June.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
Wow. That's an achievement. Some shows don't last that long, a fraction of that long.
Yeah.
That's a lot of it's a lot of work, it's a lot of dedication. You have phenomenal guests routinely. It's a good show, and it's a huge achievement. And any activity, any endeavor in your life, if you do something that long and you enjoy it, holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is
That's
fantastic.
what I was going to say. She's definitely deep rooted passion for this, because go 11 years if you don't. And the fact that she has, that's incredible. I give you a ton of credit for everything you've accomplished and started out, early. That's just fantastic. As us old to the age where our wheels won't go up the ramps to get into the haunted location, it is you guys who will bring over this field. So it's fantastic to see the things that you've accomplished. So great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And hey, the ramps are safer. I'm accident prone, so steps are a little bit dangerous. I always say, if a ghost pushed me, I'd have no idea. If they scratched me, I'd have no idea. I'd be like, when did I do that? Like, I honestly wouldn't know. And I don't think a ghost would ever do that to me, because they could just look at me and go, she's fine on her own.
She'll damage herself.
Yeah,
I have two things going on, because I'm old and I'm accident prone. So what's going to happen now?
Life insurance. That's what's going to happen.
Life insurance.
Yeah, I'm super accident prone. I get it from my mom. I remember one investigation, we were at this college by my house, and I'm with my dad off in the distance. I see this figure fall off of a branch of a tree, and I'm like, what is that? So I went up to it, and I was like, my mom on the ground. Everyone had been sitting on the branch of this tree, and I just saw the shadow fall off. I feel like that's my mom. I see her on the ground. I'm like, you okay? She's like, yeah. I'm like, you want help up? She's like, no, I'm just gonna lay here a minute. I'm like, cool.
That's funny. Well, I want to take the time to thank everybody that watched tonight on Facebook, YouTube, UNX Network, all the listeners that were paying attention to us. It is an awesome to have you all join us every week. And I want to say one big God bless back to Race Hobbs.
Yeah.
We are so happy to have him back. For those of you that don't know, Race suffered a heart attack.
Last week?
It was a week ago.
Yeah,
about a week
last
ago.
Monday.
It was a week ago. Yeah, it was a week ago.
Literally, because he wasn't at our show.
That's right. That's right. It was a week ago last Friday.
Yeah, that's right. It was right before the weekend. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad he's feeling better.
Yeah, glad to have him back. So we want to say thank you for having him back. And thank you, Sophia, for taking the time to be on the show tonight.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody looks Sophia up. And remember this, everybody. Years from now, Sophia's going to be on her show. And she's going to catch an EVP. And what is that EVP going to say? Stay haunted. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Can you give me a name? What's your name?